Today we're going to see the squeeze fade quite a bit from these two today.
I thought I had a fair chance, but maybe 1 in millions. Did I complete 180? No, I'm going there anyway. I thought I had a fair chance.
Welcome to the Squeeze Fade podcast, episode 2. My name is Austin Anderson. I'm joined by my guy, Dustin Arnold. What's going on, man?
Hey, how's it going?
Man, we are good. We realized we never introduced ourselves on the first
Yes.
episode, rookie mistake, but we are pumped for episode 2. We have a packed agenda, really. We're going to kind of get into what happened after we left Sam Houston. So we both were there. You were there a little bit before me, but what happened after that, leading up to our Trackman days? And then we're going to deep dive into what's a day in the life of a Trackman rep? What were some of the best things that happened? Customer stories, going to Denmark, all sorts of stuff. So we're pumped. But I want to kick it to you. What happened after Sam Houston?
Yeah. So as I kind of discussed in the last one, went to Eugene Country Club. I was there for, I think, 2 years, second assistant professional, worked with the University of Oregon golf team. And just had a blast up there, learned a ton, had a great head professional, GM. They're both still there to this day. You met them when we were in Oregon, Rich and Bill, and a lot of really good people within that club and kind of helped me right out of college and out of those early days, which were wild. So kind of brought me back to earth and taught me a ton. And then from there, I went down to Miami and worked at Deering Bay Yacht and Country Club. Took over as a director of instruction type role, but it was really an assistant golf professional, and had a good time. A lot of good people I worked with. You met Eric and know Eric well. So a lot of good people down there, but it was a tough job. It was an interesting one. So learned a ton, but it was a short-lived one. It was about a year. Moved from there to Maine. Worked on my dad's house and just kind of lived in a dilapidated home that was being renovated, and had a blast as well up there. It was a good learning experience. A little time away. It was about 8 months to a year. I was up there. Then moved back to Texas. Started teaching indoors at Golf Tech. Got a great bit of information on how to teach golf lessons, understanding the golf swing, breaking it down in segments. It was a phenomenal experience from learning the golf swing and how to sell golf lessons and interact and things like that. So I enjoyed that experience. That was 2 or 3 years. I was working at a location that was in a Golfsmith when they went under. So the store went under, and ultimately moved over to a Golf Galaxy and kind of did the same thing. Worked teaching indoors and did some hard goods and sold on the floor and fittings and just kind of all things there, and learned a lot. It was a lot of fun. It was a different schedule. I know we'll get into that, the life of a PGA professional and assistant, and the different hours we work. And that was a fun one because it was a 40-hour work week. And so enjoyed that piece of it. But from there, had some life changes and moved up to Minnesota for Trackman. So it was kind of a wild ride. And but as you could see the trend, I like to kind of bounce around and see different places. And I'm always drawn to the cold weather, which is what, funnily enough, brought me to Minnesota. People laugh at me for that because it's the season. So, but yeah, and then I started with Trackman.
What was that Golf Tech experience like, or Golf Galaxy? I know you were. That's kind of where you started teaching a ton, and really learned how to obviously price things out and packages. And tell me about that, because that's a whole different world than even teaching out, on the driving range.
Yeah, it's you're teaching at a golf course, and you're selling an hourly lesson, right? And you're trying to get people to do certain things. But those were the early days where it's just, oh, I thought I could give you one piece of information and that's going to make you a better golfer. And yeah, there's some truth to that in elements, but truly working with people and day in and day out, having a lesson a week or every other week and being on a plan and a commitment together is how the golf swing changes. And that's how not so great players get great. And so the piece at Golf Tech, like understanding that and um, yeah, just learning how the golf swing works and how things are affected, and just through the years doing research and watching videos and different seminars and what I learned at Golf Tech and different PGA professionals I worked with through the years, you just kind of learn like, okay, this is all linked together, and you have to start somewhere and work towards somewhere. So I'm big on packages. We'll talk a little bit about the barn later, but that's what we do, and try to get players better the right way, right?
What was the tech like at that time at Golf Tech? Like what were you teaching on? What were some of the advancements they had, and what year was that too, or roughly?
Oh man, that was 2013.
Okay.
Is around the time I started and was going into the indoor world. They used Foresight GC2s. Some of us had the head monitoring technology as well. But yeah, it was a different technology, but a lot of things translated and can be used to help people get better. But I remember a story when I was leaving the indoor teaching world right before I started Trackman. And this guy is talking to me, and I told him, hey, I just got hired as the Trackman Rep up in Minnesota, last few days. And he's like, oh, that's incredible. Like the technology is so much better than the foresights you have here. And I'm like, I don't know. I haven't used Trackman a lot. Had a little experience in Eugene, but I can't imagine that it's that much better. And this guy's like, you're an idiot. Like, you'll see. And 2 weeks later, I'm like, oh, I understand like how much better this is and how much more usable this information is and honest it is, right? Like it cuts information that's not accurate or they're not sure of. So yeah, it was learning experiences throughout, right? But that one always sticks with me, like the naiveness of thinking that Foresight and Trackman were in the same realm, especially in that day, like where Foresight was and where Trackman was bounds different. I know they've caught up a little bit, but yeah, I mean, tell me a little bit about you. Like I know, obviously TPC Craig Ranch. I know there's a radio story in there. I
Dude.
cannot wait to learn more about this. I've
Dude.
always tried to dig at it, but never got a ton into
I've
it.
had
So yeah,
I think a unique career for sure, and still to this day. But after college, I did my internship at Craig Ranch. That was my last. What was that last one we do? It's like 6 months or
6 or
9 months or
9.
yeah.
Yeah.
So did that. They didn't have a job opening at the end of that, so there was no assistant job. So I'm like, man, I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do. And my dad, we grew up in East Texas. My dad, still works at a bank there, and he wanted to have. He had started a couple Sport Clips haircutting shops in East Texas, but he wanted to have a tie to northern Colorado because that's where he grew up, out in like
Yep.
the farmlands of Colorado, and he had a brother that went to CSU, so he wanted to have a little bit of tie there. So he asked me, "Do you want to move to Fort Collins and open up these Sport Clips haircutting shops?" And it's like, I guess, like I
Why
have nothing
not?
else to do, and so moved up. We had just had opened up the one in Greeley, and by the time I was there a couple years, and we had opened up one in Fort Collins and one in Loveland. So my day to day was managing 40 hairstylists, running, doing marketing, payroll, basically everything you could think of for these 3 stores. It honestly, going back to our Sam days, like caddying at Whispering Pines, and then this job really got me out of kind of the shell because I just had to go out and, I did radio. This leads to the radio because I
Okay.
I was doing marketing on the AM radio station. It was like the Northern Colorado kind of local sports talk show. And
Yep.
so I had them come out for, had they come out for kind of the grand opening days and live on site. So I got to meet Brady, who's awesome guy, and that led me later to the radio. But after a couple of years, I was like, man, I should probably do something with golf. Like I just went through, 4.5 years
Yeah.
of stuff,
Yep.
and Craig Ranch finally had an assistant opening, and so I got hired there. Started working with Jim Calhoun, who was the head pro, really good guy, had been there forever. Trevor Reese joined later, who's
Oh, yeah.
Sam Houston grad.
Yep. No
So
Trevor.
we had a dream team there. Like that was awesome.
I
Spent
bet.
what 2.5 years there. Assistant pro, all the normal stuff that happens
Yeah. I mean,
as an assistant.
tell me like hours, right? Like, because that's got to be a factory of a golf course. And in those days, the early days, like it probably,
I mean,
yeah.
you're just there, like especially, I mean, Craig Ranch was set up in a way where Monday outings were a big deal as well. So
Yep.
you're working the shotgun, get there at 5, pull carts, help the cart guys, set up the tee signs. Trevor and I would get away with a lot. Jim would be
Oh, yeah.
grinding in the shop, and we'd be out, setting up tee signs,
Marshalling.
marshaling the course. Oh yeah. So we had a great time. It was I got kind of, you get burnt out, right? Like it's
Yeah.
assistant golf pro, and at that point I hadn't really traveled too much like in my life. So I wasn't, oh, let me just take an assistant job across the country. I wish I would have at that point, but I didn't. And then that's when I actually moved out to East Texas and took another job with my dad. And this time opening up frozen yogurt shops. So,
Love it.
I mean, we just,
Froyo guy.
I guess my dad's the franchise guy. He just always wanted to have franchises. But I did that for a little bit. And then he kind of, winded those down. He sold his Sport Clips. He sold his Sweet Frog. So he was kind of like, hey, bud, like, you're out of a job.
Go get a big boy job now.
Yeah. So, called my grandpa lived up in Northern Colorado. I called him. I'm like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing, so he's like, just come up here for a bit and stay with us. Came up there. I called my friend Brady. I'm like, hey, what can you do for me at the AM radio station? And, so he put me on there. I'm literally calling businesses, selling AM radio ads, and just
Love it.
hey man, like
Another
we got a
out of the shell, right?
yeah, we got a package, we got, you can come in and record your special commercial. And then I started producing a political podcast from 4 to 6. It was a afternoon with Gail and her. And so I was
man.
doing the board, running the boards, and she was doing her thing. So I would do that 4 to 6 and then sell ads, from 9 to 4. And then so yeah, it was not, I mean,
What a different, what a different experience.
yeah, it was I mean, all that kind of has led me to try to be in sales, and that's kind of what kicked me. So from there, I started dating my future wife, and I'm like, I
Yep.
probably should make a little bit of money, like just a
Yeah.
little bit, maybe get
We
my own
gotta
apartment.
survive.
Yeah. So I started working at a credit union. I was like, well, my dad worked at a bank. Maybe I should try. Did that for a little bit. We got married 4 months later. You and Grady Randall, Sam Houston guys, actually kind of, I don't know if it was you or Grady, told me about the Trackman opening down in Phoenix. So y'all kind of put the referral in, and I met with Kyle Butler, and we kind of hit off, and then that was it. So that kind of kicked me right into Trackman.
Yeah, I did forget, like, I think you reached out on LinkedIn
Yeah.
and just, hey, Sam Houston, looking at these jobs. And, like I remember the funny thing too is when I learned Grady was leaving, because Grady is how I got in, right? Like he
Yep.
was the Sam Houston guy at the company. And, gosh, that was back in the days of like 9 reps, 10 reps. And so, yeah, I reached out to Grady when I saw that job. posts, and I think there's 3 or 4 when I applied, and yeah, talked to him, and he just had nothing but good things to say, and so I was like, yeah, I'll give it a shot, and but yeah, you reached out shortly after, and kind of same thing, like this is it, but I wanted to go to Colorado because I didn't know Grady was ever going to leave. And, I'd only been there 6 months, so they're not going to let me move across the country
Right.
again. So, but no, yeah, I forgot that we did a little bit of like knew that you were coming on board, but still seeing you in Denmark that first day and just like, what?
Yeah.
That was wild. So,
No, that was I mean, it was a crazy experience to get to Trackman, but the time at
yeah.
Trackman together and was awesome. Like we talk about all the time. It's great place to work, but also such a learning experience. You're dealing with all sorts of different people. So like tell me day one at Trackman. So you moved to Minnesota. What's kind of
Well,
day one or was it even
yeah,
before
so
that?
I was living in Texas, went and interviewed with Kyle up in Dallas, got hired before I left the city limits. And then I think week 1 was with Kyle Butler and Morgan, the rep down there. And yeah, University of Houston, I think day 1, day 2, taking swings. I get my demo unit, set it down, kid like takes a practice swing, rips into the unit. I'm like, "Oh, well, it's been fun, like thanks for having me. I know I'm fired, so let's get this show on the
Right.
road." And but no, we all laughed and nothing happened, never got fixed, by the way, just a side note. For almost 8 years, got dinged up day 1 and never had an issue. So but yeah, it was just kind of in the Houston area, a handful of clubs, meeting with individuals, and then that was right before the PGA show. So week 2 was Florida with those guys training for like a week and a half, and then to the PGA show, which back in those days was wild. Like work on the floor with 10, 15 people. There's hundreds of people coming by. I don't even know the price of a unit, trying to answer those questions. So it was a whirlwind. And then I think 2, 3 months later, I thought winter was over. So I moved up to Minnesota, Masters weekend, and got a huge blizzard and had a blast. So,
Right.
but yeah, it was a ton of learning, right? Like Trackman University, you're learning about the product, you're learning about the sales channels and processes and marketing and just everything. So it was luckily having some of those prior sales experiences, not just being in the club pro role, which some of that entails some selling, but having a little bit more focused selling, that was helpful as coming into that. I don't know if if I would have been able to learn some of the things I did as quickly as I did, trying to juggle those things. So
What
um,
states did you start with?
man, it was Minnesota. So I could have lived in 3 places: Minnesota, Kansas City, again, connection, or St. Louis. And so I chose Minnesota. Hey, it's the coldest place. You're forced indoors. The unit can be used indoors. Like, this is a no brainer. But it was Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, Iowa, Nebraska, Missouri, Kansas, and then Southern Illinois was my first
Hmm.
territory. So it was the first year, 40 weeks on the road, 45 weeks on the road. But I mean, we'll get into them. A ton of really fun experiences and tournaments and trips. So well worth it. But yeah, then it kind of tapered down to like I lost a few the next year, but added Wisconsin and then a few more, and then eventually it was just Minnesota and a little sliver North Dakota. Um, but yeah, I mean, like your experience, right? Day 1 in Denmark, like
Yeah.
have to learn everything. Tell me about that. Like, one, the Danish culture. It's a completely different world and process and like greeting people. But how was that? Like, how
Yeah.
is
It was
walking on
dude,
off
it
of a
was
plane
a
and
whirlwind to get there, but So I was living in, I just got married. We were living in Loveland, Colorado, and Kyle and them wanted someone in Phoenix area, based out of Phoenix. So my
Okay.
first territory was Arizona, basically all the way up to Montana. So I had 8 states
Oof.
total: New Mexico, Colorado, Wyoming, all that going up in Arizona.
Envious.
But they wanted it was nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
made a little summer trip to Montana, which was
Can't beat.
but so
Cannot beat.
I'd never even been to Arizona before this, and we load up the U-Haul, drive all night to get there. We get to Arizona at it was like 8 p.m. or something at night, and it's 99 degrees, at 8. So I'm like, what
Oh,
is this? First off,
whoops.
we get everything unloaded. Next day, I'm flying to Denmark. So,
Oh,
have
gosh.
to
In the
get
middle of
like
a move.
get everything set up. Say, all right, honey, see you later. Going to Denmark. So
Hope the
get it
locks work.
right. Get on a plane. No idea I don't even know anyone. I know Kyle Butler. I don't even think I
Yep.
really knew that you were gonna we hadn't been connected that much yet, and
Yep.
so get there, don't even get lost immediately because you can't read the signs. Someone had to
Oh,
come
yeah.
pick me up from like 3 train stations down because I took the wrong train. So finally get there,
That was the most confusing
oh, dude,
thing
it's
ever.
yeah,
Like
I thought it
the
was gonna
first
be
time.
very easy, and it was
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
So get there, we're staying at that really cool hotel right kind of on
Oh,
the
yeah.
water.
That was awesome.
So the first day, get there, and I think a little while later, I meet you all at the van, and we're like, all right, we're going to the office, and I have no idea, even barely what a Trackman unit is at this point, and I'm
Yep.
going to the headquarters. So it was that week was really really cool, just because the tour of the facility, getting to see like how it's calibrated, Trackman 1, 2, 3, like getting to see that whole
Oh, yeah.
evolution. Um,
The microwave.
oh
It
yeah, and
just,
just
yeah,
the
where it
the
started and
the
the stories
precision.
around that.
Oh, and you would think too, it's like everyone is hand put together too. You see the people putting it together before they ship
Yep.
it out, and all that was eye opening. To
Yeah.
me, I was like, this is the real deal.
Yep. Yeah. And then, I mean, Klaus and Frederick and Frederick making Danish
Yeah.
jokes or like the Danish pastry jokes and having a slideshow about it. Like it was just such a welcoming experience that first go round. And yeah, you felt part of the family.
Oh, 100%. And
But there
learning
was
the
what,
story.
15 of us
Yeah,
at
I
that
mean,
point?
maybe 15 to 20. So it was a really tight knit, group as we got to know each other and all that.
Yep.
But even like Frederick is the best, right? I mean, he's like hearing the story about how he, I really like invented Trackman, what he was doing with hitting balls off the ship and tracking it with the, military radar. I mean, just like awesome stuff.
Yep.
But that kind of got me going to like, okay, this is, I can do this. Like, and was that Trackman for probably 4.5 years total, like a couple different jobs at throughout Trackman, but it was
Yep.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was, because there was a break in there, right? What was you moved back to Texas, I believe.
Yeah, there was a small break. We kind of I don't know what happened. We just kind of wanted to move back to Texas. Small break, and then the Trackman range job came open, so I
Yep.
was handling all the
I
west
mean,
west side of the U.S. So
what a different
oh,
role too.
crazy.
Like I mean, that's one of the cool things is like you start as a rep and you go to the range. I just had the rep role through the years, but like what was I know like a day in the life, right? We get
Yeah.
asked that question. I think that was the most popular question through my time is what's the day in the life of a rep? Well, you have both those experiences. Give me a little like what were those two like and how did that go?
Yeah, I mean the day in the life of the Trackman 4 rep is what I call it, like what I started at and what you did the whole time. It
Yep.
it evolved, but it was a lot of you could meet with a golf professional at 9, then you're going to, some big kind of CEO's house to look at their space for a simulator. Then you're
Yep.
checking out some, downtown city place that they want to open a 3-bay commercial space. So
Yep.
I would say it definitely was heavy on the golf pro side to start. That was your main person you called. You're calling the head pro,
Oh
you're
yeah.
calling the GM, you're making sure they know about TrackMan. I think, you were big on this, like bringing you had your whole pack with you. You had your backpack,
Oh,
your,
100%.
laptop,
Yep.
all that. And then it evolved so much that you barely even had to bring your unit, because you're going into a commercial facility that has a unit, or, you're just
Yep.
bringing it into someone's house. And so that was a lot. That taught me. I still remember Kyle Butler, to this day, like how he explained how to sell a simulator, and it was that whole painting a picture. You're just painting a
Dude, it was
masterpiece,
one of my
right?
favorite
Oh,
things.
it's
Yeah.
great. But that
Help the
that
visualization.
yeah, because that's what the people wanted, right? When you walked into a blank space, you couldn't just say like, "Oh, yeah, we can track and we can do this." No, like they wanted to see how it would look or how it would feel to them have
Yep.
a really nice, premium space in their home. So that was my favorite part of the job, was going into people's homes and just imagining a space. Like that was awesome.
Oh, it's the
Um,
best.
I
Yeah.
love learning about like what they do for work and all that. But then switching
Yep.
over to the range side, that was a whole different beast, right? Because the biggest competitor at that time, Top Tracer, right? They had already really expanded heavily in America. They were out there. Everyone kind of knew them from Top Golf and all that. So trying to get our foot in the door with a really expensive product of TrackMan
Yep.
range into some of these places, it was a challenge, but it helped me try to think outside the box. I also had to kind of go up the chain. Now I'm meeting with GMs, now I'm meeting with owners and all that
Yep.
versus just head pros. But it was hard, man. It was it was a grind.
Such a different like life cycle or sales life
Yeah,
cycle, right? Like not that any of these are low priced or even high priced,
right.
relatively speaking, on in some industries, but yeah, I mean the TrackMan 4, usually it's, hey, I know I want this. The club has it in the budget. Let's sign it. Or I know I want this for my business, or I know I want this for my home. Let's sign this. It was, you know, 6 months, maybe a year. Some of the projects went longer, but a range when you're talking, 6 figures and, construction and added costs there, it's a whole animal, right? And
Yeah.
that's now 12 months, 18 months, like
Sometimes you had to like time it up with a renovation of the golf course or renovation of
yeah,
the range, because it's the way the TrackMan product was set up at the time. Like you had to have a radar out in the field too, so that was
yep.
always a big struggle, was getting that trench. Especially if you're in California or any of those kind of high regulated areas.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, it was
Permits
crazy. Yeah,
and
and
licenses
even the
and
size of the pole, the size of the radar, like dealing
oh,
with some of that West Coast,
yep,
environmental regulations, it was tough, for
I
sure.
believe it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, well, um, maybe talk a little bit about the evolution, right?
yeah,
Like I was there for a few years and saw the early days. You mentioned the evolution piece, and like in those early days, there's no simulator. When I think both of us first started, I think it was the PGA show that year. Your first year was when they released virtual golf,
yep.
and still not fully. So we were out selling, a technology to teach off of, practice off of. There was a integratable software platform for simulator play, and it was not great, right?
Well, we went to the Eagle
And
Club in Denmark, remember, and that was like one of the first,
oh yes,
simulator
I
places in.
forgot that.
Yeah, and they were like pioneers in that time, of
Yep.
indoor golf. So that was my first introduction to it.
But they had the new virtual golf. Were they testing it at that
Mhm.
time? And
Yep.
so yeah, we did get a early preview of that. But we still, yeah, I still remember. I think it was a sale in early my second year, so 2019, and they wanted the other integratable software because they, hey, your package has 19 courses. Like we need more than that. And they had 200 at the time or something. And I was like, look, it's going to get there. Trust me. And I still talk to that pro, till the day I left. And he always said like, yep, we could have saved $500. Who cares? But,
Right.
yeah, it ultimately did exactly what you said. So, um, but yeah, that kind of changed the evolution or changed the process of the sales cycle and how things work. But those early days, yeah, you had a laptop, a stand, your iPad, you're going out to driving ranges, very rarely, but a few homes and hitting some shots even in the nets they had. So it was a lot of very mobile setups and going places. Once that simulator product came out, it became a simulator technology, right? There's still practice, there's still people using it for the instruction, but now you're doing a lot of those demos inside. So I think, maybe twice in the last year, I used my unit in a demo. We're meeting at somebody's home or somebody's business and testing it out there. So it just kind of changed from that perspective, but also it was a lot of golf professionals in the early days. And then it evolved into a lot of homeowners in those middle days, especially COVID era. And then in those later days, it was almost all businesses, apartment complexes, office buildings, people opening businesses, indoor facilities, bars. Like it became a whole different animal in that 8 year stretch. And it was fun to see that evolution. It was fun to, I think you mentioned like one meeting you're in with a golf pro, next meeting you're in with a CEO, next meeting you're in downtown, Minneapolis, Kansas City, like meeting somebody. It was always different. It was always something new and just kind of kept you out of trouble
Yeah.
for me
Right.
especially.
When did you feel like, on the simulator side, you're like, okay, we're on to something here. And when you were like, hey, I can see this happening, starting to roll out more and more. And then even leading into like, okay, I know maybe one day I want to have a space of my own. Like, was there a time where you're
Yeah.
like, man, this is kind of, I see this popping off.
So a few stories into that, like the very first golf course. Well, back a little further. Trackman bought the software, right? And there was 200 or so courses on the platform. They had to go out and get licenses from these courses, and they got 19 or 17. I think they're too fictional courses to agree, and that's our library to start, right? And then we were tasked with going out and selling renderings to golf clubs and getting them to trust that, like, hey, this is going to bring more exposure. Well, the first sale of a golf course rendering, Minnesota, myself, Interlocking Country Club. So that was our first like interaction. That's our first drone flyover picture. Well, we didn't do the photo survey at that time. So I got to see it in the very early stages. They had to shut the course down for the day. Not that, that's easy for them on a Monday. They shut it down, but no maintenance, no carts. It had to be mowed the right way. The weather had to line up. So I think we had to move it once. So I got to see that process through the entirety. And I was like, it's good. It was fun. I never really played a ton. I would go in and hit shots here and there. But I think it was 2 or 3 years later, the secret shopper story. I don't know if you know that about Klaus, right? Where he went to Rungstead or had somebody go to Rungstead and basically render the course, and he wanted to test it, not through him, right? It was through the sales rep or however it worked, and he wanted to test the golf course as the process was running, and found out that there was some inefficiencies. Like he knew that golf course like the back of his hand. He's, course record holder, co-course record holder with Tiger, side note. And I think last sales meeting, he told me he has 5 hole-in-ones out there, maybe 4. Um, so very storied history, but knows the golf course extremely well and found that the golf course didn't match as well as he thought it should. So that's when they implemented the photo survey. They would go out and take pictures of the bunkers and back from the greens to the fairway and tee, and from the tee forward, the tee markers, everything. They got every detail right. About that time, we added the clock on interlockings first hole. And that's when I saw that clock and how good that looked. I was like, this is unbelievable. And then hearing, Klaus talk about that, right? Like the dedication to making the product better. And Klaus was not a believer in indoor golf. And that kind of sold him a little bit on it because of how real it was. But I think the real moment was one of the golf courses I had played in real life. I had a shot react in a simulator the exact same way. And I was like, this is it. This is unbelievable. So I knew from that moment, like, yeah, I want to dive into this. I want to do this, often. I love teaching back in the days. I love working with people and helping them directly get better. That was my reasoning for joining Trackman was I was helping on a bigger scale. I was selling a unit that can now help 50 people, 100 people become better golfers. And so that, yeah, it was
Well, and
fun.
that's when I started to learn about how accurate the LiDAR scan is and all the pictures and what accurate within 1 inch of all the humps and bumps, like
Oh yeah.
like that is not to derail us, but that's what annoys me so much about TGL. Is that like we're so used
No
to
PGA Tour.
that's not hey, it's not
No,
PGA Tour.
not PGA Tour. I know. Fair,
It just
fair.
it's like we're so there's technology out there that is
That good.
basically as close as you can get, and playing St. Andrews like we did and playing it in the simulator and seeing the ball like actually roll into those pop bunkers like it should versus
Yep.
what you see on TGL. What we saw, when we were kind of facing against different competitors out there at Trackman, like the simulator industry before kind of you had mentioned, you're like, okay, this is taking off. It was all like flat. Everything's flat. Everything
Yep.
is
Bunkers were
two-dimensional.
flat even.
It was a gimmick, right? And I think that's still a hard thing to overcome, for some people's mind of like, oh, simulator golf is a gimmick, but man, it was that truly kind of shocked me when I learned how accurate that LiDAR scan is. It's nuts.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, seeing it happen in real time, I think really is the click moment for most people. People that are members, and that's the funny thing about some of these clubs is the clubs that have their golf courses rendered play their own golf course the most, which you would think there's 500 golf courses in here. Like I want to go play St. Andrews and Muirfield, or not Muirfield, but golf courses within the library. And they just want to play their own golf course and they want to get better. They want to, be able to beat their friends and not lose the ball in the seventh hole. And that is a testament to how accurate and how good it is when you want to go play your own golf course that you're a member at and play every day during the nice season. Like it's that good.
Yeah.
So that's, I've been asked a few times, like for the indoor facility, would you do anything different? Is there a different technology? Is there more something I could pay more for and get a better experience? And I'm like, no, like if you need something cheaper, unit, net, like cheap net or cheap impact screen, hitting mat, like in computer go. Yeah, it's just nothing compares. And we got to see it live and it was fun. But let me ask something a little more fun. Like tell me, I know I work some cool events. Tell me your best events, like or best, tournaments and coolest tour players that you met, and some of those experiences.
Yeah, I mean being in Phoenix, I got to work the waste management a couple times, and so that was, I mean, there's
Big
already
names there,
there's
right?
already a ton of kind of energy out there. You're seeing everyone run to the 16th hole and do all that, right? But it was just being inside. That was really my first time, kind of like inside the ropes at an event and on the driving range, and that what shocked me was the amount of people around each player. I mean, that's,
So
you
it's
think,
truly an entourage,
yeah,
right?
everyone has an entourage. Even guys that you wouldn't think, have an entourage, they all have at least, 3 to 4 guys around them. So, as we're working the range, and you did this a lot too, you're trying to kind of break into that, that deal a little bit. And,
Oh yeah.
got in with Brant Staneker once and he was good. couple guys like, I mean, Xander probably had 10 people with him. I mean, he had the biggest entourage I've ever seen. But seeing those guys, Cameron Champ, that's when he was kind of like
When
really
he was
coming
hot.
out, and then
Yep.
obviously has kind of died down a little bit. But I mean, dude, like the sound, the way he was hitting driver on the range was stupid. It was,
Yep.
and yeah, just I mean, how serious those guys take it. So, I don't think I spent too much time with like one person, but I got to like kind of hit a few different people. Joseph Bramlett, was
I knew
yeah, I mean
Joseph well.
that's your guy.
Yep.
And he was kind of coming up and got to spend some time with him. So that was it was great. I mean, just there's so much that goes into a tour event, and being there, seeing the tour vans, like seeing how much that happens, and then even working the LPGA one that came to Phoenix. It's at like Wildfire or one of those kind of resort casino places.
Yep.
There's a massive difference, right, between like the level of tour vans and all that, but still seeing how much they're out there grinding, and they're working on 100 yards and in, and wedges, and man, it's just the level of detail from like 120 yards and in is crazy. And that's an eye opening for me too, is like how many orange boxes were sitting behind not only the LPGA players but the PGA Tour players as well. And
Yep.
I mean, you've seen that in all your events, it's almost what, 80%, 90% at that time. It may have gone down a little bit at that time now,
Yeah.
um yeah, it was it was awesome. It was awesome to be out there. What about you?
Yeah. Yeah, I got super lucky. I mean, first, like, that was back in the early days when we still worked tournaments, right? And that was one of the beauties of the first 2-3 years that we both had was we worked PGA Tour, LPGA, Corn Ferry. We worked all those locally, and I got insanely lucky that my first year, the PGA Championship was at Bellerive, and I covered St. Louis, and
Oh,
I talked him into letting Lance take me inside the ropes, and got to work there. Incredible, right? A major. I think I'd caddied in like the Shell during the pro-ams. That was my only like PGA Tour experience. So I did have a few Corn Ferry events beforehand. That's similar to like LPGA, where it's a little bit lower pressure, and everybody's a little more relaxed, and you're working with players a lot more in both of those events, just because there's not an entourage or a dedicated Trackman holder for them. So I got a little experience there, but then it was just straight to a major championship, and that was incredible. It was terrible weather. It was hot. It was rainy. We were out there, same thing, like 6 in the morning till 6 at night, 4, 5 at night. You don't go anywhere. You're just on the range. But it was incredible to see those players up close. Worked with a few players, kind of same thing, like talked a little bit to Rory, and set a unit down and helped him. Um, was near JT, and Lance answered a few questions, and Lance knew everybody, so they were going to him. I'm just kind of in the
right.
background, posted up. But yeah, I mean, the most incredible piece of that, right? Tiger was charging at that point. Don't want to say and take credit, but he did win the next major championship after I was there, as close as I was to him. So that could have had an influence. I also watched his caddy fill his water bottle out of the bucket that they were dipping towels in. So I think that's why he lost to Brooks that one. If I would have made a
Jeez.
change, maybe he'd have
I
16
I
now.
mean,
But
you didn't stop that? I mean,
I didn't know what was happening. If I was a time traveler, that was the moment I'd go back to and
right.
alter. But no, I mean, I got stuck inside the ropes. They pulled everybody off the range because it was just chaotic, and it was raining. But I was out in front helping one of the PGA pros that had qualified. Lance was even behind the audience there, and then they shut it down. Tiger walks out, and I'm just 2 feet
Jeez.
from him.
Oh,
Like, so that was, I don't think there's a moment that'll eclipse that from the tournament experience, but got to also work the KPMG the next year, which is another major in the LPGA, and it was a little different at a major versus like a standard LPGA event. They were a little bit harder to interact with and work with, but I mean, you're not lying. Like, they are the most accurate golfers in the world. Like,
yep,
if you put a bucket out there and wanted somebody to hit it in that bucket twice, that's who I would bet my life on. They
yeah,
just they don't miss. And it's a fun game to watch. They don't hit it as far. Some of them can pump it out there, um but it's just every shot is just sounds as pure as can be, and it's just down the range,
yeah.
right? Like,
Oh, it's
everybody is phenomenal. So,
it was crazy to hear
yeah,
too. How like when I'm was working with the guys like testing different drivers, they could tell their spin rate without even looking at the they that was 2500, that was
anything,
22,
not just
like
spin rate,
carry,
anything.
it was. And so they would like, oh, we need a little bit more, lead here and more tape here, or we need to adjust this, or I need a new shaft.
Yep.
And the guys were just on top of it. That's a world that I haven't been a part of too much, is the fitting world, as far as like the true in-depth, fitting world. And that's a huge interest for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I little experience at Golf Tech, right?
Yep.
Very low level, a little bit at Golf Galaxy, but that's not even the same realm, right? Like, the tools they have, the things they can do as fast as they can. It's especially at the majors, like, hey, I need this hybrid with this shaft. It's a radio, and it's there in a minute and a half, and like ready to hit in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's a whole nother echelon, right? And super interesting how they look at the numbers and interactions and make changes and get them optimized. And it's also interesting that how often they change their clubs, right? Like, the some people, it's new wedges every week, not just because they're worn out, but because they want different shafts and different lofts. And it's just, I mean, if we had that luxury,
Oh,
I don't even know what we would do, right? Like, I would have 50 Scotties
right.
instead of, 4.
Right.
So, yeah, it was fun to be a part of, fun to be on the inside of. But I wouldn't say I don't miss it, like, in those later years, but at the same time, like, those weeks were a lot of work and, not towards how you get paid.
Right.
So, it was fun, those experiences, but, yeah,
Yeah. That
sometimes it was a
was,
little
10,
a
12
little
hours
much.
or more where you're not meeting with golf pros, you're not going to the commercial facility. So yeah,
Yep,
no, I mean, that's the ultimate goal, is to, you know, sell products. So yeah, fully get that.
yep. Well, I mean, to wrap up the Trackman stuff, like, tell me your best Trackman story. Like, what's I know a little bit of this one, but
Yeah.
I cannot wait for this because I've heard some parts, but go. Yeah,
Yeah.
tell me.
No, it was, I mean, we both have, we could pull from 4 or 5 different ones that, both customer, internal, all that. So this was my last stop at Trackman, moved up to Tulsa, Oklahoma. They were doing a program called Tulsa Remote. They pay you 10 grand to move to Tulsa for a year. I was like,
I remember
all
that.
right, sure.
Yeah, why
So I took
not?
over that territory, which was Oklahoma, Kansas minus Kansas City, and West Texas. So that was my territory.
I think my second least favorite city after Topeka is Dodge City. So,
Yep.
sorry, Kansas,
Yeah.
but
It was
that
spent a lot of time in
was your
Lubbock.
territory.
A lot of Lubbock time, but they so in Oklahoma there is a golf course owned by a certain country singer, and got acquainted with that pro and kind of talked with them. Then ended up, saying, "Oh, the owner's thinking about putting one in their house. You should probably go out and schedule time." I'm like, okay. Um, so
Did you know who the owners were at that point?
I did know at this time,
Okay.
yeah, but I hadn't met them. So, go out, I'm, have to page into the gate, there's all sorts of stuff out there. It's a compound, it's a property, like there's
Yep.
when you go to those level of people's house, there's always someone, like there's always like 20 people just working on something. Like something's
Yep.
always just being done around the property. So I pull up
Groups. Yeah.
and, I pull up to the little circle drive. I go to the front door, like no one's telling me where to go. I just knock on the door and Toby Keith opens the door. He's like, come
Oh
on
my
in.
gosh.
I'm like, how you doing? How you doing, Mr. Sir? I mean, and,
You don't even know how to address
no,
like
no,
it,
and
some of
he
the,
was also, I found out after that, that's when he kinda had it wasn't public at the time, but that's when he started having that
Oh,
battle with cancer, but, they hadn't released it yet, and he was looking like he was a little bit slower than like what you normally would
yep.
see, on
Fair.
tour and stuff, but same voice, and so I walk in, I mean, there's, like, memorabilia everywhere, and there's custom paintings of Pebble Beach that were painted of him and Clint Eastwood, I mean, just awesome stuff. He sits me down at the kitchen table. He's like, "You want some water?" Like, sure." Gives me a red Solo cup with his logo on it, of water, and then he's like, "My wife will be here soon. I don't handle any of this stuff," and he just leaves, and so I'm sitting inside of Toby Keith's house by myself, and I'm like,
Ah,
what am I doing?
ooh.
Like, and I'm looking at stuff, and he's off in the other room. He just disappeared. Finally, his wife comes in. She takes me out to like kind of where they want to put the sim in and all that. And I mean, the place was nuts. They had full court basketball. Like, I mean, just awesome stuff. But I mean, Toby Keith couldn't have been nicer. Like, straight nice guy, genuine.
Probably didn't seem, just based on what you said, like it seemed like he was just a normal person,
Yeah,
right? Like just somebody you're chatting with, and another CEO of a company
yep.
that's putting one of these in their home or however it is.
And
Like,
it's probably like, I mean, he stayed in, Oklahoma. He didn't, I mean, it's
yep,
kind of
he was
that.
pretty down to earth.
Yeah, I think some of his family may have lived out there. So it was definitely he was a family man. And then after that, like it ended up being sad because obviously he passed and, all
Yep.
that, but just being there and, having that kind of like shock as he opened the door, not expecting him at all. You go to Toby Keith's house or any celebrity and you're expecting like their manager or
Manager,
someone to
yeah.
kind of handle it, and
Yep.
just having him just be like, "Hey man, you want some water?" Like, yeah, sure.
Uh,
So I ended up keeping the red Solo cup, and and so
Good.
it was good times, but
Might need that on the shelf back there
I know,
soon.
I should grab that. Yeah, but that, I
Uh,
mean, yeah, I'm sure we all had, you had great times, and yeah, dude, I mean, it was a great run for both of us, honestly. I mean, we did so much, met a lot of people, experienced stuff, and I know next episode we'll kind of probably get into like golf trips and some of the stuff we did there. But any last words for you on Trackman and kind of wrapping that up?
Yeah, I think, yeah, just it was a good time. Met a lot of great people. Um, the golf trips were usually with coworkers everywhere we went, and wouldn't trade any of those, right? Like those experiences, those rounds. Um, but yeah, it was a blast. Wouldn't trade it, wouldn't do it again, type deal.
Right.
And happy for the next step, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I think we want to dive into that a little bit. Like, I left Trackman, opened an indoor golf facility here in Minnesota, just outside of Minneapolis, and teach golf lessons out of there now. We have some content that'll be shot in the barn club in the facility. Austin and I will, analyze it and talk over it, post some videos. Actually going to post a video that we did on Smash Index and Spin Index, just what those numbers are, very short video and series that we'll have going as well. But coming soon will be some more in-depth how-to on the Trackman world, and then some of the indoor facility world and how things work there. So yeah, work with it day in, day out. Like we said in episode 1, don't want to talk about it too much. I know this episode was all Trackman, right? I think working titles are Track Bros, or Austin and Dustin finally introduce themselves. So but those are the themes, and yeah, so just yeah, keep doing what we're doing. And I know you're obviously in not in the golf industry right now. There's some interest maybe to get back in, and Barn Club KC is topic of heavy debate on most of these calls.
Yep.
But no, like tell everybody a little bit about what you're doing now, and there's some golf in there. I know
Yeah.
it's not a lot, but
Yeah, no,
yeah.
I after Trackman, that was kind of the time, started having a family, and you kind of reach that point at Trackman where you're like, and I know you reached that, at this point it's like, all right, I better do something else and kind of advance. So got an opportunity to move into more software sales, worked at a company called Paycom, which is, HR technology.
Victor Hovland.
Victor Hovland, that's our guy.
Yep.
Spent a couple years there. Working for a public company that's going from Trackman, privately owned, Klaus, Frederick, like
Yep.
very few,
Small,
to go
smooth.
into public Fortune 500, like that's, it was a lot, right? And so
Mhm.
got an opportunity to take a step back into the private world, and now work at a company called Safety Culture, and really we're kind of like a software tool for frontline workers, more of like an operational workforce tool. So our company's based out of Australia, so we're working on that Australia golf trip for us, and
Oh, I thought we were talking Australian Open.
oh
I
well,
have
we can,
seen
yeah, I mean,
Safety Culture non-stop.
yeah,
But
I mean,
I'm a big tennis watcher, and I've watched and seen yeah, Safety
who's your
Culture is
tennis
doing
guy?
good.
Who's your
I I mean, I'm still a Novak guy.
okay, yeah,
I know he's actually, I think, playing right now. I think he started at 9:30. So, yeah, love Novak, but I think Yannick and Carlos are a ton of fun to watch. Ben Shelton is a good one as well. But Taylor Fritz is my guy. I'm American and enjoy the heck out of watching him play tennis. So it was rough to see
nice.
him lose early.
Yeah, it's well, we need some Americans to get in the mix in
It's
tennis, right?
I need you to work on your kids, because the trend is height. You look at Yannick,
Yep.
it's we need some of the big boys and girls to get back in
Yeah.
that American game. So if
I
golf
mean,
doesn't work out, just you know
dude, golf. I mean,
get the
golf with the
courts
height
going.
too. It's crazy right now. Like it's
Yeah.
with what's happening there. But
Hey, don't you? Yeah, there's some of us out there.
I mean, yeah,
Miles Russell. There's a hey. Don't you diminish
Miles
us yet.
Russell's he's a baller.
He's a beast.
I mean, Blades Brown. I mean, Blades Brown's probably
Blades.
he's not too tall, but
He's in
but
between. Yeah.
yeah, but no, we're trying to get something going here. Maybe that's kind of some content we can produce on our channel of getting a facility open. Like I think future episodes, I'd love to dive into everything that went into opening the Barn Club, because I mean, you took all your experience from Trackman, and there's still some learnings and still some things, and
Oh yeah.
I mean that's
There's still learnings to
yeah,
today.
and I think that's great stuff that we can kind of produce to if someone's trying to open a facility, or really get the inside track there. So I think that's a great episode for us coming up for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say I'm most excited about the next. I mean, I think we have 8 episodes talked about of just golf trips, which will probably be 2 or 3, maybe 4, 5, 6. But I'm pumped to relive some of those memories and talk about, Vegas and Dallas and Oregon and not Philly, Pittsburgh, and just dive into some of those early day trips, and then Cabot and uh, Old Course and Scotland, and just yeah, some of those going. So Super pumped for what's coming. But yeah, thanks for listening. If you made it this far, I know this is double our last video. Proper introduction.
Yep.
Welcome. We're just gonna get half hour longer every week. Just kidding. But no, it was a blast sitting here talking, and look forward to many more. And thanks for being a part of it.
Perfect. Great to spend an hour with you on a cold, chilly night here in Kansas City. So we'll catch you next time.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Have a good
All right.
one.
Peace.